Hello, beautiful soul family. I just wanted to pop on because I got inspired. I just had a lot of emotional work today, and I was like, God, this would be a great opportunity to give you a little look into what a realistic integration day or night would look like for me. It's a time where you're emotionally exhausted, very raw, very vulnerable, and it's easy to kind of get back into the throw of things thinking that, just to remain productive, but really you kind of want to approach any deep session that you have with yourself, whether that's on your own or with another person. You want to approach it with that sense of respect towards the healing itself, instead of just brushing it aside and continuing your day as normal. It's perfectly fine to go about your working day, have healing after, and then spend just the evening integrating that. There's no need to have a full clear day off your calendar. You just want to respect the time after the healing itself. So today I had a really big session and cried a lot, felt a lot, and rewired a lot. To keep in mind after something like that, you want to kind of cocoon yourself and womb yourself. So you want to get cozy and nurture yourself in any possible way that you can. I'm just going to share the things that realistically work for me. I'm not going to spruce anything up and do things that I really don't do. I'm just going to show you exactly how I would actually spend this evening. But as always, there's so many modalities, there's so many different things to try, and it's just about listening to your body and seeing in which direction it wants to go in. So I was actually contemplating doing a yoni steam, and then I thought, no, it doesn't feel right. Even though it's really relaxing, it might actually also open a gateway to further emotional work. And my body's like, I don't want to do more. So then it becomes about keeping it light. So the first thing that I would do is to eliminate all spiritual material, anything heady, anything to do with my passion, with healing the soul. And so I don't do anything like that. I make sure, I can't even read my books. The thought of it right now is like, ugh. So first thing I like to do is get home and watch something that has nothing to, the most unconscious, lighthearted, feel-good thing that I can. And I just get really, really cozy and just let myself start to simmer down, because a lot of the emotional work you won't have processed yet. You will just kind of be a little bit in a cloud and a haze. And actually a lot of people feel, an hour to 2 hours after doing work, they'll kind of feel good or relieved or lighthearted. And there might be more layers that show up after you've pulled off one in your clearing. So you also have to be aware that you might feel even more emotions or not. It just depends. I usually feel pretty good afterwards. Next thing that I like to do is take notes right after a big clearing. I just want information that I want to keep in mind. Something I have here, a few moments of the session that I really opened up a lot of awareness for me, and also the deep sense of safety and kind of what I recreated to create that, because that's kind of the missing experience, and I wanted to remember what that was, because during any emotional work, as all of you know, it can be hazy during and after, to the point where you don't really remember what happened. So I'm a person that likes to document here and there. I don't have the energy to really fully write everything down. So I just take really quick notes and put it here so that I can write more about it tomorrow when I'm fresh. Because this is not about exerting yourself. This is all about just chilling out. The next tip is pretty common. Probably everybody knows this, but it's still important to keep in mind, is to hydrate yourself, drinking warm teas, drinking lots of water. We just want to keep ourselves hydrated. It's like you want to take it into account, almost like you ran a marathon or you did something really physically, like an exertion of some kind. You kind of want to treat your body in the same way. I also like to limit social activity. I'm not opposed to it. I just prefer that cocooning energy myself to just spend moments being with myself. I'm usually more present, more still after any emotional work, and I like to take advantage of that because it usually furthers my relationship with myself. The next thing that's important to keep in mind is your nutrition on a day like this. So you might really feel comfortable eating junk food and eating tons of stuff, and you want to check in. You want to give yourself permission for any of your bodily requests to be granted. You just kind of want to check in and say, hey, is this a part that's trying to avoid pain by emotionally eating, or is this just, I'm just dying for chocolate and that would make my soul happy? So you can see the differences between both of those, and you want to follow the one that makes your soul happy. And mine lately has just been eating really nourishing foods, making sure there's protein at every meal, tons of vegetables, tons of healthy fats. And I've been cooking like for every meal. I've just really stepped up my game. That's something that excites me because I feel like I'm nourishing my brain. I feel like ever since I've changed to a diet like that, my brain is so much more clear and there's no like fogginess or haziness. Cut out all sugars. So I make sure that I cook something really nourishing and really nutritious and kind of treat myself to a big portion. Usually after emotional work, like in the bodywork workshops, every time we get off the table, we are like starving, like as if we hadn't eaten in an entire week. So it's really normal to just have a gigantic appetite and to just kind of want to replenish yourself. So once again, full permission to eat what your body wants and to nourish it in whichever way it so pleases. The next thing I'm personally going to do is have one kind of still moment in however way I choose. So one of the ways could be having a cup of tea out on my balcony, really feeling the trees, the wind, having a moment with myself where I'm not excavating, I'm not going to dig for more stuff, but I'm just kind of like in some stillness. It really helps the processing because I really do recommend things that are lighthearted and kind of not of much depth, but I don't mean for that to be taken as just complete and utter avoidance of the self. You do want to look for spending time with you, but just not in an intense way, just very mellow, just breath, just being with where you are at. My stillness moment today is going to be a lovely Epsom salt bath where, there's no place to go. I don't have a phone because the universe took one away from me again. So I've really been enjoying the stillness of not being attached to it. And you really have no place to go but be with yourself. I like to light candles, make sure that there's some essential oils in there, have tons of salt and maybe some music. Really just making this ritualistic kind of closure to the beauty of healing and giving it, again, that respect that I like to give the day. I think the takeaway from this is that there isn't any specific way to do it. It just wants to have various ingredients. So the ingredients are to check in with what your needs are. What came up for you during the clearing? What was the theme? And what is the lingering feeling? And how can you provide that trigger, that part, whatever you are working on, how can you provide it further assistance? You also want to be soft with yourself. You want to have some sort of nurturing energy that kind of encapsulates the day, giving yourself the time to do it. So clearing the calendar, making sure there's space for whatever wants to arise, whatever kind of way you want to spend your evening. You want to make sure that your schedule is clear or that you've taken the healing into account and you're making time and space for it. Some sort of nature or elemental clearing. It's used very metaphorically in shamanic journeys, in tons of integration and healing practices, but this shouldn't be any different. So for me, the bath is spending time with sacred water. You could do a yoni steam. You could go out in nature and just stand. You could go into the garden and spend time with the soil. You could light a fire or light some candles. You just want to be around an element at some point. But I think it brings us closer to ourselves when we have an elemental kind of ritual, even if it's 2 seconds of just, maybe I'm going to smoke some sage, maybe I'm going to just have something that you do to kind of bring closure to the whole process. Don't go too spiritually deep. Don't go excavating. Don't go looking for more emotional work unless it feels like something's really unfinished and it's really begging for your attention. You kind of want to give yourself just time to process using lighter materials that are around you. And the 6th thing is just have a pocket of stillness somewhere to just be with yourself and take in and let your body process and come up to speed, let your nervous system relax. And the 7th thing is to make sure that I'm very soothing sleep. So set all the conditions. My favorite thing recently has been opening the door and hearing all of the crazy nature sounds. It just feels like it's been louder than ever. And making sure that I have a pillow propped up underneath my legs. It helps me sleep for much longer, and if I wake up, I fall asleep much faster when I have my feet slightly elevated. For some people, maybe it's a sound machine. For some people, taking some valerian root with chamomile, some sort of teas, anything that's going to give you a long restorative sleep, because as we all know, taking naps, sleeping long nights, sleep is one of the deepest integration forms that we have. It's why we integrate every day. And we probably will have crazy dreams, which is the subconscious's way of, kind of giving us messages and putting everything away, organizing it all. And then lastly, really listen to your body in terms of nutrition and water intake and what your body needs on just like a basic need level. And so those are all of the basic ingredients that you want after emotional work. And I hope that you're having good integration day. I hope you're being kind and warm with yourself. And I send you lots of love.